Hi guys, I'm Professor Islam, and today I'm going to show you how to do basic assessments for your clients. So let's assume that Gustavo is my first time client, never met him before. So how would I introduce myself? Hi, I'm Professor Islam. I'm going to be your trainer today. Your name, sir?
Gustavo, nice to meet you.
Gustavo, what's your last name?
Sorto.
Sorto. Have you had any caffeine, alcohol, tobacco, or food in the last 4 hours?
Nope, I have not.
Okay, very important to ask these questions because we want to make sure these elements may affect the baseline testing. So he hasn't had any food, alcohol, caffeine, or tobacco in the last 4 hours, so we can move on with our assessments. Are you currently taking any medication that I should know about?
I'm not.
Okay. So this may not be on your assessment form, but it always may affect your client's heart rate or their breathing rate, so it's important to find out before you actually do any tests with them. Now, you need to know all of these baseline measurements, all of these anthropometric measurements, because they help you quantify him on all the tests that we're going to do today. First things first, of course, is resting heart rate. So whenever you are working with a client, you're always to the right side of the client. That just makes it statistically correct according to American College of Sports Medicine. Gustavo's resting. I'm going to go and take his resting heart rate. Now, you have the radial artery, the brachial artery will always go to the radial artery. And the best way to find this is looking at the base of the thumb and then putting 2 fingers gently right here. Make sure you have a nice gentle finger touch here. Next, we want to take the client's weight. Remember, we're to the right of the client at all times. The client needs to make sure that they don't have a hat or shoes on.
Okay.
All right, ready, Gustavo? We got his weight, we'll get his height. If you don't have a meter stick to measure, you're just gonna have to trust your client. And Gustavo, how tall are you?
I am 6 feet tall.
His waist circumference, because a really good way to find risk for heart disease, cardiovascular disease, is to see the circumference around the waist. Now, this is all about comfort, so you want to make sure your client is comfortable enough to do this test with you. You want your client to assume the right standing position. So feet together, heels together, toes together. Go ahead and interlace your fingers behind your head. Now, when you take this measurement, you're going to want to make sure that you're holding on to the 0 with the 1 closest to you in the measuring hand. It's really important that you do this correctly. The best way to determine where you're actually going to make this waist measurement for your client is to see where do you see the smallest divot. Now on Gustavo, we see it at the natural waistline, where it's indicated on your assessment as NAT, N-A-T. Now, if you have a client with a larger circumference, you may not be able to see a natural waistline. So the best way to measure the waist is with the 1 inch. Take 2 fingers, place it right above the umbilicus or the navel, and it's going to give you that line marker across of where you're actually going to make that measurement. And as you can see here on Gustavo, it also gives us that line right across his natural waistline. Remember, I'm to the right of the client at all times. I'm going to bring this tape around and actually make sure I'm going to swizzle it back and forth to make sure it's right there on the smallest part of his waist. And the easiest way to do this is actually bringing this 1 inch all the way around and pressing against the front of his belly so this doesn't move. If I drop down, now I can see whether the line is nice and even across the waist. So this way you're not making a weird extra measurement. So from here, I place the front of the tape onto Gustavo's stomach. I'm gonna have an inhale. Inhale and push your belly out against the tape. Inhale, 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 and then exhale forcefully for me. I'm going to take this measurement 3 times to make sure I get the most accurate measurement of them all. Dropping down to 1 knee, pressing the tape against. Go ahead, inhale against the tape, and exhale forcefully. Take the average of 3 measurements. Now what we're going to do is the hip circumference. Feet together, toes together, heels together, because we want to make sure the client's standing in the right position. We're looking for the largest part of the glute. Okay, not the gluteal fold, but the biggest part of the glute here. Right? Pop your hip out towards me. Good job. And then you could feel this bone right here. Now go ahead and relax again. This circumference all the way around, and take this measurement 3 times. Okay, before we actually do his fitness assessments, we want to make sure that the client has really healthy shoulders. Which hand is your dominant hand? Right hand. Okay, so I'm going to measure the length of his dominant hand from the distal crease of the wrist, and you can see this where the bend of the wrist of the skin is, all the way to the tip of the end of his middle finger. If your client exhibits any pain during the movement, it's a 0. And a 0 means we refer out, we go to a doctor, PT, OT, because it's out of our scope of practice as a personal trainer. Feet together, toes together, hands out into a T position. Don't do it yet. Tuck your thumbs in, make fists, and then I want you to bring your right hand over and your left hand underneath. You're going to make contact with your spine and one touch. The second that they touch, don't try and shimmy them close together. Keep them where they are. I'm going to measure the difference between your knuckles in distance. Bring your right arm overhead and your left arm underneath. Simultaneously touch your spine, hold it there. Ooh, that's good. 3. Nice job. Now we're measuring the top arm. So Gustavo has a 3 on the right side, so his shoulder mobility is a 3. Okay, Gustavo. So the goal of the push-up test is measuring muscular endurance. It's not about speed, it's about how many you can do with good form until you fatigue. How it's going to start is your hands are directly underneath the shoulders. I'm going to hold this so it doesn't move for you. Okay? Hands are directly underneath the shoulders, fingers pointed forward. You're going to start with your chest on the foam roller. Okay? From this position, you're going to push to full extension, making sure the elbows are straight. I don't want to see your hips come up or your hips come down. Anytime that you do that, I'm going to count it as incorrect. You're only allowed 2 incorrect push-ups before I terminate the test. If you stay in this top position for more than 2 seconds, I terminate the test. Okay? If you decide to end, the test is terminated. Whenever 36. Okay, keep those hips up. Keep those hips. 37. Come on, make it to 40. 38. Come on, 2 more. 39. You got this. 40. Keep on going. 40 it is. Nice work. Plank test is meant to measure core endurance, okay? Not core strength, core endurance. So what I want you to do is place your elbows directly underneath your shoulders and your palms facing forward. So when you're in a plank position on the ground, basically you should look like this. What I want you to do is make sure that the shoulder or the humerus, the head of the humerus, is in line with the head of the femur. So you're not looking at the glute itself, you're looking at the bones, all right? From here, you're just gonna hold as long as you can. If you start to splay your elbows or pitch forward and you cannot correct it, I will terminate the test. This in line with this, and this in line with this. So you're right there. Are you ready? Good. So what we're measuring here is not only time. Go ahead and keep your chin down, looking down at the floor. I can measure the correct distance. If I look that from here to the head of the humerus is 12 inches, it should be the same all the way to the head of the femur. But you can see, here's the bony protuberance. He's actually right in the right position. So the forestry step test is the best way to measure cardiorespiratory fitness with a healthy general population. And since Gustavo here is college age, like much of you, this is probably the test that you would be using. Also, if you had some weekend warriors working out, this would be a pretty good test for them. 40 centimeters, and for women, it's at 33 centimeters. It's pretty boring. So the entire time you can switch leading legs if you want, but you have to stay to the beat of the metronome. Okay? Make sure that your whole foot goes onto the step and you come fully back down. If you don't step on the bench, I can terminate the test. If you lag for more than 2 seconds, I will terminate the test. Starting in 3, 2, 1, begin. Good. Up, down, down. Step, step. Step, step. At 10 seconds, you're going to give your client a 10-second countdown. Here we go. 10, 9, 8. Keep on going. Good job. 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and have a seat. Good. Now you have 15 seconds to find your client's radial pulse. And you're going to take that 15-second pulse count at exactly 15 seconds after that 5-minute time. From here, I'd like you to slide your thumbs back in line with your eyebrows. Go right up there. Good. From here, tuck your toes under, straighten out your knees, and then push up. Okay. So what I saw here was just a little bit of a lag in the hip. So go ahead and lie back down. Extend your arms forward. You might want to get this from the side because you're going to see what the hips do here. Slide your hands now down. Oh, what was happening there? We saw a little shifty shift. Did you feel that? Okay. Go and lie back down. Bring your arms out in front of you. Slide your thumbs back in line with your clavicle. Now, because Gustavo did make a mistake or have some sort of deviation, he's already at a 1 here. Go ahead, tuck your toes under, straighten out the knees, press straight up. Good. And from there, we actually see that he moves as 1 unit. Now, let's cover from the top again. Go ahead and lie flat. Extend your arms out in front. Slide your thumbs back to your eyebrows. Good. Those are really low-ass eyebrows. Right.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Right there, your eyebrows. Okay. From here, tuck your toes under, straighten your knees, and push. And you see that lag there. So he's definitely not a 3. Drop it back down. Extend your arms forward. Now slide your hands back down to your chin. Your chin. Very good. Tuck your toes under, straighten your knees. Press up. And you see that dip and divot there. So he needs work. So that would classify Gustavo not as a 2, but as a 1. Take a comfortable position with your feet, hips width apart, toes pointed forward. You're going to place the dowel on top of your head, and notice that the way I know that it's the right position, I'm going to stack my wrists directly above my elbows. So they're 90 degrees. Make sense? Okay. From here, I'm going to have you press the dowel overhead completely so that your elbows are fully extended, and from this position, I just want you to squat as low and as comfortable as you are. Okay? So I'm going to have you perform that exercise a couple of times. Probably place the dowel on the head, extend the arms overhead, and from this position, squat as low as you can, as comfortably as you can. So as he breaks this parallel, we start to see the pelvis tilt back. We really want to make sure that this isn't occurring because it's putting a lot of excessive stress here on our client's lumbar spine. And as we load it, separate the spine away from the pelvis, those discs are just going to get too much work. Okay. Notice here is that as you stay here, his shoulders are able to stay in line or behind the kneecap. That means he's got excessive shoulder mobility. They've got a lot of space to move. But where he's giving is that he's tilting forward a bit, which means that we might be losing some thoracic mobility or some hip mobility here. So because I noticed that Gustavo wasn't the 3, the perfect, I'm going to elevate his heels to see if that changes the effects of the hips or the shoulder or the T-spine. And now, slowly and gently come down into a seated squat. Wow, look at that. So much prettier. Look at how the pelvis has a lot more control. He's got a lot more thoracic mobility. He's staying more upright with his spine. Gustavo is also a cyclist, so it doesn't surprise me that his lower extremities are probably overworked, and we need to do some mobility work with the ankles so we can allow this entire posterior chain to relax, because when it's tight, it's going to pull down on that pelvis every time he's trying to activate it. This is why movement screens are important. We get a lot of info. Thank you very much.